Hi, welcome back to my channel. So I'm gonna get straight into it. If you see the title, of course, you know what the video is about. Okay, I had to turn the light off. That was really weird. So I am giving up weave in 2022 and beyond. Weave, extensions, all of the above. And so I wanna clarify what I mean by weave when I say weave. So wigs, sew-ins, and all of that. And this is primarily concerning hair extensions or weave that don't necessarily look like my natural texture, kinky texture type 4 hair. And excuse the light, like things keep kind of going in and out, like flashing across my face. So thank you for your patience. So yes, so all of the things that are kind of opposite my hair, meaning straight, wavy, type 3 curly, as I mentioned, things that don't look like mine, which is type 4. So I'm gonna give you the backstory first, and then I'll explain kind of my reasons why, and also if this is something that you've experienced as well and kind of want to consider maybe giving up or not doing, then I will talk about my best practices or tips. So I have been preparing to go weaveless for maybe the past 3.5 years. So this story kind of goes back to when I got engaged to get married. So now well, I don't know about everybody, but when I was about to get married, I like delve into this whole kind of beauty regimen as like a lot of brides do, I think. So, I'm like getting all these vitamins and, you try to grow your hair out and like blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of where all this started. And when I was younger, meaning probably ages 15 and on, I wore like every kind of weave there was, straight, wavy, mostly straight, especially when I was in high school and things like that. But when I went to college, I like completely shaved my head bald, impulsively kind of. And then from then on, I started wearing more kinky textured weave and things like that. Like that's when all those started to come out and they became more popular. And that's primarily what I've worn for the past maybe like 5 or so years. Now I have had some wigs like for my wedding and all this type of stuff that were like wavy or curly or straight as well. But I would say for the most part, like definitely more than 50% of the time, I would say that I wore like kinky texture type of weave. But I'd had this like lingering thought in the back of my head for the first couple years when I went natural, and that was when I was in college and things. I had a pretty, I thought that my hair was, very easy to manage. But I think as time got on, I started feeling like, I'm like always doing it, always twisting it, like it was kind of always something, and it wasn't like a positive experience. It was more so like a chore, or like, I don't even want to say it wasn't a positive experience. It was just like, you kind of witness and hear about other people that they wash their hair, they're style it, they're done, it's not a big deal, doesn't take all day, that type of thing. And so I think I started to get a little bit of fatigue when it came to taking care of my hair and the deep conditioning and the this and the that, and it just became a lot. And then I would have this lingering thought from that fatigue, thinking, like, I feel like it just doesn't need to be this hard. Like, I don't need to be spending every time I wash my hair a whole day doing so, or a whole 24 hours, and then waiting forever for it to dry, and you know what I mean? All that type of stuff. Because when you think about it, back in the day, well, I'm a millennial. We go to the hair salon, you go, you wash, you set your hair, you wrap it for the whole week. It's like a thing, it's done. And so I was like having that lingering thought of like, why is this so much effort? And it's difficult to sustain for like long periods of time. And I think part of the whole protective styling weave thing, the desire to like get a break, stems from all of that. But I will say though that, I started having a feeling as well of putting in weave that it really wasn't that low maintenance, especially like if you're trying to match your hair texture to the weave, especially if you have like a natural textured weave, because you got to like wash it and, do all that type of stuff with it. So it wasn't that low maintenance. So it's kind of like doing double work. You're working on the weave and then you got to take it out, your head, you got to wash it and do all this extra stuff. So it just ended up being a lot. And it really started to bother me. But at the same time, I didn't feel 100% confident or comfortable going out with my natural state. Now, I really liked, I never had any problems with like the texture of my hair, whatever. I had a problem with what I perceived as manageability. And I had a problem with like length and cut and style, like to where I didn't feel comfortable kind of like going out in my like Sunday's vest, and my best look did not include me wearing like my natural hair. It included me having something extra, if that makes any sense. So like in the past, my most confident wasn't with, my natural hair, my natural length, like all the hair that I have on my head. you know. So I said all that to say I started making arrangements, like an end date essentially of like, okay, like when these milestones of when I wanted to like take the weave out and just stop. Because then also I was thinking, I'm putting all this effort in and I'm wearing all these protective styles, and yeah, my hair is growing, you know, here and there and a little bit, but once I take it out, I'm going to end up with the same situation. Like if I can't learn how to take care of it on a week-to-week basis when I'm going on trips, you know, just living my normal life, like what's going to happen? So I started having those thoughts too. And then, like I said, I put an end date to it. So I started doing a lot of protective styling where I could still do my hair. So I would wear wigs, like curly wigs. I would wear, or regular wigs at the time. I would wear braids, and I would like wash the braids. And at the beginning, I wasn't really like as good about this, but I was like, let me just get the protective styles in. I would like braid my hair down and put clip-ins in. Like I said, I would wear wigs, I would do braids. Those were primarily it, like things that weren't pulling on my follicle and like things that weren't tight. Cause then I started realizing that can cause a lot of damage too, and like traction alopecia and things like that. I definitely didn't want to admit it, but I definitely think, you know, after having like hindsight, that it really is like if you're always pulling your hair really tight, it does cause damage. So that's something to be aware of. So anyway, and this is even before I kind of figured out like really how to wear my hair out and things like that. I started educating myself. So the first book that I read was The Science of Black Hair, and I will link that book down below. So it has a really good kind of overarching knowledge of like how the hair is made up and, you know, all that type of good stuff. So that was the first, like my first education into kind of the black hair world and how to like take care of it and keep it moisturized and all that. Then, you know, I started trying to find some other resources. So most recently, and like I would say my biggest breakthrough in this journey is I took the See Some Curls course. And I'm going to do a full video about like my 6-month review, because I've been doing the method for 6 months now. And I will do a full review on that. I'm probably going to do it next week when I do Wash Day. And I'm going to talk about my favorite products and then like See Some Curls and things like that. If it doesn't get too long, and if so, then I'll have to split it up between 2 videos. But I did take that class, and that was kind of like my biggest breakthrough. Now, you know, when it comes to these books and educational resources and things like that, like, you know how you like your hair to look, and you know kind of some things that work and some things that don't. And with any book that you read or any course that you take or whatever, it's like the name of the game is, you know, you take the things that work for you and like you leave kind of what you don't. And you don't have to follow things like 100% like the instructor. Like you can make your own rules in life and with your hair and things like that. So that's kind of like all the backstory. And if this video was like pretty chaotic, I apologize. I'm just kind of like, I wrote down some notes, but I'm just kind of like, some things occurred to me while I'm speaking, and so I'm just kind of getting all that out. But anyway, as far as the reasons why I'm going on this like weaveless journey. So I started to think that having extensions, hair weave, whatever, whether that have been straight or, you know, kind of like the kinky textured weave too, I felt like it was like a beauty crutch for me. And I didn't really like how that felt all the time. And I briefly touched on this, but it was like I didn't feel super comfortable kind of like leaving the house all the time. And I didn't feel like my best snatched self, and I wanted to change that. So that's why I kind of went on a growth journey to get to a point where I felt like I was more comfortable kind of walking out with my hair down and things, like on an everyday basis, not just here and there. And I also briefly touched on this too, but it wasn't really as protective as I liked, and also it was a lot of maintenance for me. I experienced my weave to be a lot of maintenance, and I'm like always gonna put my wig on and take my wig off, and you gotta like lay it all down, and then you gotta like always blend. You're always blending in some capacity and doing some styles. It just was like a lot of work, and I craved something that was like a little bit more sustainable and a little bit simpler for me personally. And anyway, keep in mind, like I do not put myself in a box. I have absolutely no problem changing my mind. And if I want to go tomorrow, go get some clip-ins or whatever, I will 100% do that. But I can pretty confidently say I will never again go get a weave or a wig or what have you that does not match my hair texture. I think, you hear that sound? Come on now, stop my shine. You know, I think what I realized is I and part of, you know, maybe the confidence issue or the beauty crutch issue was that I just wasn't comfortable kind of like looking like me, like my features. And I wanted to get to a point where I'm like not trying to look like somebody else, or I'm not trying to like take on someone else's phenotypical features that just aren't mine. I'm never going to look like that. And so I wanted to be, I over the past probably year or so, I've just gotten to the point where I stopped wanting to cover myself up, if that makes any sense. And I think that's just a part of like maybe my evolution as I've gotten older, but it just became more and more taxing, and I just wanted something more simple. Does that make sense? Like I mean, to not sound corny, but I just wanted to be my own beauty standard, you know? And so anyway, I just wanted to chat about that and the realizations that I've had over the past, you know, couple years. It kind of started out, you know, more superficial. And then as I've gotten further in the journey, definitely I've had some like deep-seated realizations about, you know, like my self-worth and things like that, which is pretty crazy. But I think that that's something that happens as you get older. And I think this just feels the best for me right now, like giving up the weave, letting it go, not covering myself up. Like that's kind of what it felt like to me. It just felt like a helmet or a mask, you know, that I was carrying around, and I didn't like that feeling so much. But everyone is different, and sometimes, you know, it doesn't really bother one person, but I really do think if you're going around life, like my personal opinion, if you're covering yourself up the majority of the time, there may be something there where, you know, you may benefit from some like deeper level examination of like why you feel the need to cover yourself up a lot. I don't know. But this video is an exchange of ideas. I'm curious to see like what your perspective is. Do you feel like that? Because I don't want to project how I felt like I was feeling like a mask onto other people. But I do think people are in denial about it too. You know what I mean? But I would love to know kind of your thoughts about it. Are you ditching the weave? Are you freeing the scalp? Like what is your, you know, kind of hair goals for 2022 and things like that? Because this is, I don't know. I feel just like in general really good about this like next phase of, you know, just being me. It's great. And if you have any follow-up questions for me, let me know. Leave them down below. I can definitely do a part 2. I love to talk about ideas, love to talk about, you know, all of these types of things, self-worth. So I will happily do video after video kind of talking about some of these things. You know, I'm no like self-worth, self-love expert. I'm just like an enthusiast on trying to have more simplicity and ease in life. And that's all I think all of us want. And so finally, I do want to get into my tips. So if you've kind of been thinking about this, you know, letting the weave go, freeing the scalp, whatever you want to call it. It's not even really I don't know. It should be a movement, I think. Anyway, let me get into the tips. So my first tip is to set an end date. Like it's easy for me to say like, oh, let your weave go. And you may not feel comfortable with like how long your hair is. And I think also, I'm gonna mention this too, when you get so used to seeing yourself with like super long straight hair, when you take it out, like you just feel, it's like a really big stark difference psychologically when you see yourself with like super long Rapunzel mermaid hair or just like super long natural hair, and you take it out and you see what you're really left with. It can really mess with you up here, like you think you're bald or something. I don't know. Long story short, set an end date. And like I said, it's easy for me to say because I have a decent amount of hair, but if I showed you pictures of my hair, even like in June of 2019 before I got married, it's a completely different situation. So I would start out by doing some protective styles, start out just trying to get more comfortable with, you know, your natural look, and maybe try to start incorporating some more conservative weaves. I mean, I'm speaking mostly to people who have kinky textured hair. So like, instead of getting something that looks way different from you, maybe get a style, even if it's you know, a weave, natural textured weave or whatever, like get it, you know, like this, for example. You don't have to get like super like waist length long hair, whatever, like keep it a little bit more conservative and, you know, just try to little by little get more comfortable, you know, with that look more often, you know, throughout your day-to-day life. Another tip is to get in the habit of trying to work with your hair and like learn how to care for it. And so any protective style, my recommendation that you have, whether it be braids, whether it be a wig, whatever, like always wash your hair once a week. Wash it, condition it, style it, meaning if you just putting it back up in braids and putting your wig back on, fine. But just like get in the habit of like caring for your hair, styling your hair every single week, and try to find like a sustainable kind of like easy process that's not gonna like be a lot for you and like taxing for you. When you just need to wash, condition, style it, wash, condition, style it once a week, and just keep going and just keep going and just keep going, kind of like the old days, you know? And then when you get to a point where you want to take the hair out, and like you're ready to go free, like free your hair, like live your life, whatever, then I recommend going to get it cut, and then going to, well, if you're into color. But I have a little bit of color in my hair, just a little bit, you know, but it's really nice. It makes a big difference. It like lightens up my complexion. Not like light makes me lighter, but like brightens up my complexion is what I wanted to say. So like, I think a lot of my issues also with my hair was that I had like a funky cut. It just looked weird. And so, you know, just go and get it like evened out. And that way you may or may not feel more comfortable. I don't know, try it out. But I hope that they made some sense. I feel like I just kind of blathered on for a long time and no one knows what I'm talking about. No one can feel me. But I hope you can. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, I enjoy talking about topics like this. And I just kind of wanted to share where I am, what I'm feeling about it. I'll see you in my next video. And like I said, let me know if you have any questions. So I hope you guys have a great day or having a great new year. And I'll talk to you on my next video. Bye.